Welcome to Two Guys and Mike podcast. I'm your host, Jason Thompson, here doing it by myself today. My illustrious co-host, Michael, is under the weather, and our producer, Jay, is unfortunately doing family stuff. So to keep content going for you, our audience, I am going to carry the torch on my own on this beautiful Wednesday evening and see what comes out of my mouth, because you never quite know. I probably shouldn't have said it like that because it sounds worse than it is. But I did want to touch on something last week that happened on Thursday that really hit me at my core. The fact that Trump was convicted. Not only was he convicted, found guilty and convicted, but 34 times. So 34 counts guilty verdict. And I really sent shivers. I'm going to pull a little Chris Matthews here. Sent shivers down my leg. You know, the fact that we had a jury in New York that found the innocent man, I believe an innocent man, found him guilty. And the way the whole trial took place, you had a judge that was cherry-picked by the Bragg and Letitia James that would have absolutely convicted Trump on his own, let alone use a jury. He was a Biden supporter and donor, which in itself seems like a conflict of interest. He had, I believe, absolute malice against Trump. They picked the jury, really cherry-picked the people of that jury. Hard enough to find, I think, an objective jury in Manhattan to begin with that would be objective in a Trump trial. But needless to say, people that were following Trump on social media were automatically canceled out of the jury pool. They didn't cancel out people that were Biden followers or Biden supporters on social media. To me, if you're going to X one out, you X the other. That seems like that should be fair and fair alike, right? I also think that the fact that Alvin Bragg, from day one, when he got into office, said his job is to 100% convict Donald Trump of whatever. That was his goal. And for that matter, so was Letitia James. She ran on a campaign platform of going after Trump. These people have Trump derangement syndrome. That's all they want to do is destroy a man. And my big issue with that is if they're going to go after Donald Trump, who has all the resources to defend himself, all the abilities to, fight back, what can they do to us? I mean, there's no way the average Joe Schmo could take on a judicial system that is so corrupt that will have sham trials to take you down. You couldn't do it. You and I couldn't do it. No way. And yet they went after this man with both barrels blazing. And that's so obvious today that the media didn't even report it as it was happening. Yet now that it's done, they're doing an about face, reporting how the jury pool was selected and how the judge Merchan really molded the jury to get that guilty verdict, and how the rules were bent on how to get the prosecution to it's a guilty verdict. It's absolutely crazy. I really don't understand it. Although I thought it was funny that today, I believe either today or yesterday, Merrick Garland, the federal attorney general, was questioned by Matt Gaetz, Florida congressman, pretty severely about exactly what Marchand should have been questioned about. You know, he said to Garland, who was a judge at one time before he was Attorney General, federal judges, if they're found to have given to a political party and are prosecuting or presiding over a case of a member of the opposition party, are they allowed to take part in that case? And Merrick Garland said, absolutely not. That's a conflict of interest. Yet Marchand did. Marchand donated donated to Joe Biden and the Biden campaign several times. How is that not a conflict of interest? You know, Marchand's daughter profited from Democrat campaigns. She was an informant and a political hatchet. She was making money off of this. How is that not a conflict of interest? And again, Merrick Garland said that should absolutely not be the case. That if it was a federal judge, that wouldn't be allowed. Well, then why was it allowed in New York? Because they were using federal laws to prosecute Trump. Federal statutes. That shouldn't be allowed. A lot of improprieties took place in this trial that really has me questioning, you know, where we're at today. At what point do we say it's wrong? Because today it's a Democrat prosecuting a Republican in a sham trial. Tomorrow might be a Republican prosecuting a Democrat in a sham trial. That shouldn't happen. The law, Lady of Justice, should be blind. There shouldn't be gerrymandering and judge picking and selecting of different people to get the outcome you want in a trial. I think we're in a really bad place in our country. And I don't know what to think about it. I hope that you guys leave some comments below, because what this tells me is the rule of law means nothing anymore. If they can go after people just for who they vote for, how they think, and get a conviction, I think that's damning for all of us and damning for our republic at large. Shame on New York. Shame on Kathy Hochul for allowing this to happen, for not stepping in and saying, you know, I may not like Donald Trump. I may not like his policies. I may not like him as a person. But at the end of the day, you know, the integrity of our courts have to stand for something, right or wrong. Everybody deserves a fair trial. Bill Clinton wasn't treated this badly during the Republicans' reign in Congress when he was impeached. And to think that what they got him on was out of the statute of limitations. So this was a crime that happened 9 years ago. The statute of limitation is 7 years. And they just omitted that. Makes no difference. Doesn't matter that the statute of limitations gone on that. We're going to convict him anyways. Federal prosecutors looked at the case. I said, there's really nothing here. So Alvin Bragg and Letitia James molded the evidence, not the evidence, but the law to suit the crime to be able to prosecute it. That's not right in itself. It's not. There are a lot of things that have taken place in this trial that are not right. Granted, you know, I really do feel that that Trump is gonna be exonerated on appeal, but that's back page, right? The Democrats are holding the papers up. Found him guilty. Heck, I have my my messages all over my phone blowing up the whole time on Thursday. He's guilty. He's guilty. He's guilty. The same people that cheeringly cheered that Trump was guilty, are they going to cheeringly cheer when he's found acquitted or exonerated? Probably not. So the problem is, it's not the seriousness of the crime, it's the severity of the allegation that we're going after people for. And I have a big problem with that. I think it leads down to a really slippery slope, and it's taking us to a really dark place in our country. I hope that adults step in someplace and they come out and say, that's just not right. We're going to get rid of these people. Either that, or I really do hope, and it would be the greatest thing ever, if once Donald Trump's exonerated and or becomes president on November 5th, he goes after these people and just decimates them legally, bankrupts them financially, morally, psychologically, and mentally. Publicly shame them. Because whether he's a Republican, a Democrat, or an independent, nobody should be persecuted under our legal system because of their opinions or their political views. Just don't do that. This is not what America's about. This is Nazi Germany stuff. This is Fidel Castro's Cuba. This is not America. Well, it is under Joe Biden, but it's not supposed to be America. This is a Herbert Hoover deal. But the other thing I really wanted to touch on, because I don't want to, beat a dead horse too much. I think a lot of us have talked about, or have read about, or have seen about the Trump case, and I don't want to go through it. I want to talk about how much of an incredible weekend we just had. It was probably the nicest weekend of the summer, so far, of the year so far. Not the summer. Summer's not here yet, and it was, the weather was great, the sun, the temperature. It was fantastic. It was boating season at its best, lake weather. And God damn it, I was out of town. But that's okay. I was visiting some friends, my wife and I, surprise 80th birthday party. But New York, anyways, had some really, really great weather. And that was really cool. I was so glad to see that. I'm so into nice weather. I can't stand rain. Rain just sucks. Did want to bring up our sponsor for this this podcast. It's going to be a short one, obviously. Being by myself, it's kind of difficult. But JGS Recycling, my company, we recycle anything from refrigerators, scrap metal, and we do on location, do free on abatement, and rent dumpsters. So I want to say thank you for JGS for providing us the ability to have our podcast. I also want to bring up locally, there's anybody who's in the Albany, Saratoga, upstate New York, Massachusetts, Vermont area. There's a local dirt track in the area called Albany Saratoga Speedway. Been around for decades. I mean, I'm 51 now. I can remember, when I was in my teens, early teens, hearing the roar of those engines on a Friday night. Living at exit 12, between 11 and 12, and you could hear just a deep rumble from the big block ground pounders at the Albany Saratoga Speedway on Friday nights. That track was built there, and there was nothing around. It was in the middle of nowhere on Route 9 in Malta. And as time moved on, the encroachment of developments and businesses came around this track, and it's something that's happening everywhere across the country. It's nothing new, They put these tracks in the middle of nowhere, and then all of a sudden, the development happens around it, and they get choked out. And this is what's happening at Albany Saratoga Speedway. The track owners have sold to a company called BBL, a big developer and construction company, and they want to close the track. I think it's a shame. It's something that brings families together. It's a venue of entertainment. Been around for generations. Families, generational family members go there and race there and go and watch races. And I think it's sad that we're seeing a lot of these places that we grew up with closing and selling out to big developers to tear them down to become condos or hotels or whatever else they build. I remember as a kid going to Hoffman's Playland. It was great. Small rides for kids. I took my kids there. Yet they sold that to make McMansions and Five Guys and restaurants, fast food joints. And they closed a family icon park where everybody enjoyed going and they spent time there as kids. I know as a business owner, seasonal businesses are really difficult, and I get that. It's hard to run a business 6 to 7 months a year. But as people who enjoyed those kind of places, it was really nice to have those places. And Albany, Saratoga is one of those places. I remember taking my kids there when they were little. And I remember taking my kids there when they were in their teens. I don't go that much anymore, but my kids go there every Friday night to go watch the races. One of my best friends races. Actually, a couple of my good friends races at Albany, Saratoga. And, I really feel that those type of places are under attack. They're going after them. Not necessarily, to close them because they're being, that was quick. Whew. Not because they want to attack them, but as far as mischievously, but they're looking to close them out to put housing and something more profitable. And I think that's where government needs to step in and say, no, there are certain things that need to remain the way they are. I know that we're in a capitalistic system and almighty dollar, but this is where I think a little bit better central planning by our local leaders needs to step in and say, you know what? We have enough hotels, we have enough apartments, we have enough Haji Marts, we have enough brick and mortars, restaurants that on every corner. We're going to keep this racetrack here and we're going to preserve that. Or we're going to keep make it affordable so that these seasonal businesses are able to remain for generations if they want to stay open. It's one thing if the place isn't making money and it's run down and it just closes. But when the places make money and it attracts a lot of people, but because of the way our government is, it becomes financially incapable of staying in business because of taxes or insurance, labor, workers' comp, because it's become so expensive in the state of New York that they have to close. I think government needs to change things because people move to regions because there's a draw. Part of that draw isn't a mall. It's a racetrack. It's a little amusement park for the kids. It's the Zoom Flume or, water slide world in Lake George that just closed. They closed 4 years ago, I think, and it's totally demolished now, and they're going to make way for, brick and mortar development. So I think it's a shame that we have very short-sighted things that are being done by government and being allowed by government because of money, as opposed to the enrichment of our community. Putting an apartment complex, yes, does it generate more tax dollars? Probably. Does it enrich your community? No. And I think that we don't weigh the pros and cons today. And that's indicative with everything. You look at architecture. Yes, we can cookie cutter a house really quick, but we ignore the things that make it unique, the architectural accents, because that costs money. We ignore the fancy windows because that costs money. We don't want to look at the bigger picture. Yes, an apartment complex will bring the town more money. Getting rid of that racetrack removes a certain element of draw, for starters. A venue that enrich your municipality and community because it's something unique in the area. There's no other dirt track. I think the closest dirt track from here would either be in Vermont or Fonda and Lebanon Valley. You're talking 50 minutes in all directions minimum. This was a really centrally located track. It wasn't that great. They had limitations. They had to be done by 11:30 on a Friday night. They raced one day a week. I mean, but it was something that was great. It's like, you know what it is? It's like the drive-ins. Yes, drive-ins don't make money, but it's an experience. It's something as a kid I remember doing, hanging out in the car with my folks or my girlfriend, or, checking out a movie, hanging out in your car. I won't say anymore because I don't want to get myself in trouble, but you get what I'm saying. It's one of those things that I think as society and as government looking at central planning, these are things that maybe they could fix through tax policy, where if it is a seasonal business, like a racetrack, a drive-in, an ice cream parlor, these are all things that greatly enrich your municipality and your community. I think a certain benefit should be given to them as opposed to building another strip mall or apartment condo or something like that. I think that a lot of people are realizing today that we're losing our uniqueness when we get rid of these places. I think we're losing experiences as families. We're losing memories that were made. Think about it, guys. Think of your fun things you did as your childhood. In your childhood, it was going to an amusement park or catching a. I don't know if anybody went to the drive-in, but I can probably tell you every movie I've seen at a drive-in because they were so memorable. It was always a lot of fun. And if we get rid of everything, what is there left to do? Why do you want to live here? If there's nothing to do on a Saturday night, why do you stay in the community you live in? Eventually you leave. Why are people going down south? Because there's stuff to do. It's exciting. It's happening. It's moving and shaking. We're dying up here because we're allowing one short-sighted government to dictate things that are being built, or policies that cause things to be no longer affordable, and they have to close because we live in a seasonal climate. Look at. We all love going to the seasonal hamburger joint. Love it. I know 3 that have closed because they can't make money anymore. It's too expensive in taxes. Their property taxes are year-round very expensive. Labor is expensive because of seasonal workers. These are all things I think that we need to look at. And the Albany-Saratoga Speedway is kind of like the antithesis of that, where they sell out because they want more money. The town opens its arms to the developer because they can get more money, but they lose a certain je ne sais quoi of their municipality because they don't have those venues anymore. Please comment and tell me what you think. If you think I'm right or wrong. I think there are important things that we shouldn't lose. I'm hoping that something changes in regards to Albany Saratoga Speedway. I don't think it will. But I think it's a damn shame. Yeah, it's a damn shame. And I hope something's done. Guys, we need to really look at our things that we like and speak up. You know, there was an analogy a friend of mine said one time, and I'm going to butcher it. But if there are a group of people in the room that don't like something and nobody speaks, eventually people go away. And then more things happen, you don't speak up, more people leave. Then the more things happen, more people leave. Eventually, there's just nobody left to speak up, and then you're stuck. You know, as a silent majority, and I'm to blame as well, as a silent majority, we really have to stop being the silent majority. We need to speak up. It's time we start voicing our opinions as Americans and tell government what we like and don't like. You know, we can't keep hollowing out our municipalities of all these things that made our municipalities great because of money. I'm going to segue out of this into something different because it goes hand in hand. You know, we can't keep being the silent majority and then getting mad when things don't happen the way we like them. In 300 years, America went from a fledgling colony to the most powerful and richest country in the world. The envy of every civilization. Sometimes more envious than others, but always the envy. And what made America different than other countries? It wasn't the fact that we had eagles. It wasn't the fact that we had, amber grains or really blue oceans or a Lee Greenwood song. But what made us different is we were founded on a government that recognized individual responsibility and individualism. You had the right to succeed and you had the right to fail and everything in between. You wanted to take the risk and reap the rewards of your risk. Thomas Jefferson, I believe, is the one who said, or either Jefferson or Franklin. Unfortunately, I'm by myself. I can't really look it up. I believe it's Jefferson. He went so far as to say it is a crime to tax a man's works to provide for someone else. I butchered that, trust me. And again, I've had to look it up. But I'm ad-libbing here. Meaning, if I choose to take a risk to build a business, to build a theme park, to build a baseball park, to create a baseball team, and I'm fortunate enough to being successful, I shouldn't be taxed and penalized because I chose to take the risk. And conversely, if you choose not to do anything and be lazy, that's entirely your right to do that. But it's not your right to come after what I've built because you don't want to be because you want to be lazy. Our country was built on principles like this, on rugged individualism, strong patriotism, a reverence for God and spirituality. Our founding documents all are based on Judeo-Christian values. And yet, we're at a point in life, and I want to say it probably started back in the early 40s, maybe early 50s, where we started chipping away at these, I want to call them moral rights, for the betterment of society, to give to those who have not, the Robin Hood syndrome, and suddenly made a lot of the things that made us the best country, made them bad. Patriotism, God, personal responsibility and accountability, hard work. Now these are all things that are bad. Well, without those fundamental principles that we had in 1776, we wouldn't have got to where we are today. And I don't understand how we're allowing it as the majority who works. Listen, all of us go to work every day. We pay our mortgages. We enjoy our Saturdays. We want to go to a ball game. Why are we allowing people to destroy that? Because we don't want to get involved? I don't want to hear politics. We shouldn't talk about it. It's going to come a point where we've lost too much. We can no longer say anything. And, I argue with one of my buddies. I think we're at a critical moment in time where it is the most important election of our time. I think as a country, we're at a crossroads where you either go left or you go right. You go left where we're diving into socialism and communism, big government oversight, rules, and the heavy hand of totalitarianism. Or you go right, where it's limited government, personal accountability, personal responsibility, laissez-faire, hands off, leave people alone. I don't care what my neighbor does. I really don't give a shit what my neighbor does. I don't want him to give a shit about me. If my neighbor needs help, I'll go help him. But it's my right to say I don't want to help my neighbor. But we're abrogating all these responsibilities because we don't want to get involved. And I think we're at a crossroads, and we're starting to see it, that government is grabbing that power. And there's going to come a point where we can't fight back. We can't vote enough people out and start over. I'll say that with Donald Trump, listen, we're in a country of 380 million people. And the best two candidates we have is Joe Biden and Donald Trump. Yes, that in itself is a travesty. But I also believe that for the time that we're in, Donald Trump is the best president we've had, because we've never had a more nasty government than we have now. Look at his trial. Look at the YouTube censorship, Facebook censorship, the things they're pushing on kids in libraries and in the media and on TVs. They're all bad. Crime is rampant. I'm a firm believer people are good. But the ones that are bad are getting more emboldened. So you really need somebody that's going to right this ship and right it hard. Because if we don't make that course correction, there's no stopping. So I guess at the end of the day, that's my point. Whether it be at a local level, with allowing these big companies to come in and change the whole landscape of our municipalities because of money, or allowing the court system to be attacked and used as a weapon, or being a good American and being self-sufficient, reliant, holding our government to account, holding our elected representatives to account. We're at that time, folks. It's important. We need to be our grandparents. People of the earth. People who knew right from wrong. People who said, you know what? No, Mr. Politician, I'm not going to let you do that. No, Mr. Principal, you're not going to teach my kid that. No, Mr. Priest, you're not going to touch our kids. Whatever the agenda is, the common sense that our grandparents and our great-grandparents had, we need to get to that point again. We're losing our country. They're keeping us busy with the baseball games and the football games and, oh, look at this. Look over here as I do this over here. And we're just not paying attention. And then we look at, and we get this 34-count indictment and then a 34-count guilty verdict. And we're all like, holy shit, how did that happen? Because we allowed it, folks. We didn't take the time to look at what our elected representatives are doing to our country. And it's happening in every facet of government. From the presidency right down to your local dog catcher. It's time that we stand up. We stand up and say enough. I'm going to hold my elected representative to account. I'm going to vote him out this fall. You look at what your elected representative stands for. Does he align with your personal values? Family, faith, being fiscally responsible, being held to account to your decisions. These are all things that we have to do at our kitchen table. Why do our elected representatives not have to do that? Why does government not have to do that? How can your local town government come up to your house and say, hey, your shed, we don't like it there. You need to move it or take it down? How can a state government come in and say, we don't want you to build that there because you might be interfering with bird migration without proving it to you? This is what's happening. These policies that were not voted on by us are infringing on our rights every day. And we let it happen. Why is it in New York State businesses pay the highest workers' comp in the country? The highest. As a business, I have no control over that. Zero control over that. Yet I'm forced to pay for it because if I don't pay for it, it's $1,000 a day fine. Unemployment. I have to carry as a business unemployment insurance. The government forces me to. Yet I have no control on who gets and who doesn't get unemployment. You fire somebody for being a bad employee, the government will give them unemployment. Yet I have to pay my insurance premium when it goes up. Because there's now, just like car insurance, when you have a check on your insurance, policy premiums go up. Same thing with unemployment insurance. These are all rules and policies that were put in without us even having a say in it. But these are also things that impact us every single day. And they get by and they become a law because we don't pay attention. We don't listen. $10,000 debit cards to illegals. What is that? Who said that the government can spend our money like that? $10,000, guys. How can these elected representatives think that's okay? They're not giving me $10,000. They're not giving you $10,000. Yet, people who have never worked a day in this country, who probably hate us to begin with, get free housing, free food, free money, and we have no say. Zero. And we allow it to happen. Guys, we have to wake up. We need to be our grandparents and our great-grandparents because they wouldn't have allowed this to happen. So I'm going to close my solo podcast with this. We do have the greatest country in the world. And anybody who says otherwise, I'd punch them in the face. Do we make mistakes? Sure. Everybody does. But people aren't clamoring to get into other countries that they want to get into here. This is still the land of opportunity. This is still, maybe not New York State, but still the land of freedom, where you can chastise your government and not be incarcerated, not New York State. But we're going to lose that if we're not careful. We're at a precipice. We're at a crossroads. You have a government right now that is hell-bent on changing what made us great, what made this country special. And I worry about that. You should worry about that. And you know what? I'll put money on it that you do worry about it. The kind of country we're leaving for our kids. Because it's not the country we grew up in. We had a lot more fun. We had a lot more freedoms. You know, I want the ability to get hurt if I want to be stupid. If I want to jump off a bridge and into the lake or the river, I want to have that right. I don't want Big Brother to say, oh no, that's against the law. We did it as kids. None of us died. And if somebody did, it happens. People die today and we have all these rules. You know, I'll tell you, as a kid, I rode my bike without a bicycle. My parents weren't helicopter parents. I left my house at 7 o'clock in the morning and didn't come back home until 8 o'clock at night. There were no cell phones and Life 360. There was always food at my neighbor's house. We jumped off of bridges. We rode our bikes like crazy fools. We did all sorts of things without our parents knowing it. None of us died. Yet, some of my kids' friends died because they sat at home doing drugs. Because society told them they couldn't go outside and have fun and go jump off a bridge into the water or go swimming in the lake or ride a bike without a helmet. Not that those things are it, but it's control. Control makes people go crazy. You find a different outlet. And the problem is, because of control, our kids are choosing things that are more dangerous than we had. You know, we were allowed to jump off a bridge and ride our bikes crazily and stay out late with our friends and rent a hotel room at 18 years old, rent a car at 18 years old, go buy liquor at 18 years old. Today, kids can do nothing until they're 21 to 26. Everything is illegal to do. You can't jump off a bridge. You can't swim in unmarked waters. You can't ride a bike without a helmet. You can't. It's rule after rule after rule after rule after rule. So what do kids have left to do? Sit at home, play video games so they can get themselves out of reality and do drugs. And nobody says anything. Government run amok. So I know, guys, this is a pretty heavy topic today. And sorry if it got really heavy, but these are things that, as my youngest is graduating from high school, it's kind of a momentous time in life as a dad. My last son not moving out, but being done with school, I should say. Who knows? He might move out, but I hope not. It makes you really become a little more introspective and look back and see at life and where we're at. And I have a grandson on the way, so I'm kind of looking forward at the world that we're leaving him and the rules that are done are coming down, and what kind of life they're going to have, what kind of community, country, state they're going to grow up in. And I'm really not hopeful. I'm not. As a Gen Xer, I feel like we were the last great generation that had fun. I'm fortunate. My kids took a lot of lessons from me. They rabble-roused. They go have bonfires with their buddies. They went and got a camper and they go have fun. But most of their friends aren't interested in that. They want to sit home and do things very differently. Because a lot of the things that my kids do, they probably get in trouble for. Pit parties. We all did that when we were younger. Can't do that today. 1, can't have fires. 2, oh my God, somebody might drink. 3, oh my God, somebody might say something bad to piss people off. Oh my God, my kids are unattended. Oh my God. But these are all things that make me, think of the kind of world we're leaving them. It's time to wake up, guys. Think about what we're doing. Think about the kind of country we're leaving them. It's important. With that, it's pretty heavy, I'm sorry. But To all of us who have graduating kids today, this week, this month, whether it be a senior in high school or a college student, give them a big hug. Because that's why we worked so hard to give them the best we can at home. Well, let's work equally hard and give them the best country we can with the values that we had that made our country great. So, with that being said, till we meet again.